So now, with a good and positive and very assertive start, we're gonna be talking about the cybersecurity interview questions. And let me see who is here with me. Sanchit, are you the one who will be taking care of our cybersecurity interview questions?
Yes, yes. Can you hear me properly?
Yes, Sanchit. Thank you so much for joining. I really appreciate it. And I really appreciate that you joined on our request. It is nice to meet
My
you.
pleasure.
Great. So Sanchit, let me explain you how the structure actually goes for this cybersecurity interview question. I am going to ask you a question. You will first tell them the answer, and then we will basically tell them the structure of the answer. Okay, so that these people can follow if they are getting into an interview. Okay, and there will be
Sure.
five questions, and all the five questions are the frequently asked questions in the industry, what we have gathered from number of students, number of experts, and we will be focusing on these five questions. Okay,
Sure. Sure.
thank you, Sanchit. Appreciate it. So let me start. Now, the first question, Sanchit, I have for you is, could you please introduce yourself? And this is for cybersecurity.
All right. So, hi, my name is Sanchit. I have around 17 years of experience that revolves around cybersecurity. I have worked with companies like ForcePoint, Checkpoint, and these are cybersecurity product-based companies. Shooting of their products that includes firewalls, proxies, as data loss prevention, cloud security. So wherever this is deployed, these different products are deployed. I am involved in the implementation process. And then when the customers start using this, whenever they face any difficulty, they reach out to tech support, where we need to understand the situation, troubleshoot the problem, and then fix it for the customers.
Okay. Okay. So it means that Sanchit, you are recommending that we should start mentioning our number of years of experience to basically set the ground, correct?
Yes.
And then because you mentioned some of the companies which are mentioned in your resume, uh,
Hmm.
I mean, you have to follow your resume, right? Because an
Right.
interviewer also has a copy of your resume. So definitely you need to mention the same companies you have mentioned in the resume, and you have to mention those same companies. Okay. And
Exactly.
after that, I heard you properly that you were talking about mentioning the technologies, like you worked for cloud security, and then you talked about firewall, you talked about various other things. So people who are aware of the technology, like whichever technology you are aware of, you can definitely mention and try to relate it with the work experience. So it will be
Right.
helpful. And then,
So
yeah, please go
so
ahead.
you should answer based on the job description, right? So
Wonderful.
ultimately you've already sent the resume to the person, they have read your resume, and they found some similarity with the job description and your resume. That's why they have called you for an interview, right? So now it's your time to sell yourself, right? That
Absolutely.
why you are the one for this job, right? Why are you the most appropriate person for this job? How would you highlight that? Because you have read through the job description. You know that they have requirement for cybersecurity for a specific topic. So you tell about projects where you have used that specific topic. You literally boast about the knowledge that you have on that topic because that is your ticket.
Wonderful. This is a very beautiful input, Sanchit, that reading and understanding the job description is a quite crucial part before you step into the interview. And
Right.
based on that, you're curating your introduction by adding those technologies which matches with job description. I think that is the best thing. Am I right?
Yes. Yes, that's correct.
Okay. And then mentioning about or your involvement in the project, because at times the projects can be bigger and there can be multiple people involved, but your involvement in the projects matters a lot to an interviewer. So that is what you tried mentioning. Am I right, Sanjay?
Yes, that's correct.
Wonderful. So, guys, this is the structure we need to follow. I hope you are taking down your notes. that mentioning the number of experience as per your resume, companies names as per your resume, mention technologies based on the job description, and tell them what was your involvement in the project, so your stories need to come out. Okay, so mention that you should be doing that. So if you are participating with Think Cloudly, and let's say you're participating in 4 different projects, you can definitely mention those projects as well. Okay, so if in case, because I know many of you are new to IT and you might not have been working in IT, so mention those projects, what you do with Think Cloudly. Is that okay, everyone? Does that sounds good? Can we move on to the next question now? Because every one of you has to involve in the projects what we do at Think Cloudly, and it's going to help you a lot. The second question, Sanchit, as an employee with privileged access downloads sensitive data onto a USB drive before resigning, how would you prevent and handle this situation? Okay, let me repeat this question, Sanchit. An employee
Yep.
with privileged access downloads like an employee with previous access downloads sensitive data onto a USB drive or pen drive before resigning, which is quite risky. How would you prevent and handle this situation?
Right. So, first of all, you need to understand the question properly, right? So, you need to understand the meaning of privileged access. Privileged access is not the normal access. Normal access is given to all the employees. But then there's privileged access. That means, for example, while working on your computer, you must have executed certain commands like run as administrator. That is what is privileged access, right? So, preventing and handling data theft by a privileged employee is the question, right? So to prevent such incidents, you need to enforce strong access controls with the principle of least privilege, right? So now when you talk about terms like principles of least privilege, when you talk about privileged access, automatically the employer understands or the interviewer understands that you have knowledge in the domain, because these are technical domain terms. Not everybody knows about the principle of least privilege, right? Then another thing which could be done or implemented in this situation is to deploy data loss prevention tools, right? To monitor and block unauthorized data transfers, right? Which includes USB. And upon resignation or termination, promptly revoke all access privileges and accounts. So now, the moment you say that, promptly remove all privileged access of somebody who has resigned, then again, another tool can be used in this scenario, which is privileged access management, PAM. So, what PAM does? PAM gives access to different applications based on your position in the organization, based on your role in the organization. If you are a new employee in a specific role, you would have access to 4 different. Change
Sanchit, your
after
voice is
working in
actually,
that same.
Sanchit, your voice is cracking. Is it happening for
Is it?
everyone? Let me check if
Can
it
you
is
hear me
for.
now? Can you hear me now?
Yes,
Is it any
Raman.
better?
It was a little sketchy earlier. Yes.
Okay, okay, now it is
Is
okay. It is okay now. Mhm.
Sure. Sure. So I was saying that you can use a PAM system to automatically revoke all the access of somebody who has resigned, right? So you can
Perfect.
have, so two different tools can be used in order to solve this problem. One is a data loss prevention tool, and the other one is a privileged access management tool. So a privileged access management tool has 3 profiles. One is when somebody new joins the organization. The second one is when you change department. And the third one is when you resign. In all the 3 scenarios, some access is given and some is revoked. The last one, all access is revoked because you have resigned, right? And data loss prevention tool is going to monitor and check anything and everything that has been going out of the network of the organization. So they cannot just use a pen drive or anything. They cannot copy data and send it outside the company network.
That's amazing. So I think very, very, very good answer, Sanchit. See, you can see that how Sanchit has broken down the answer. So first of all, he started talking about what is this privileged access is a super access, not a normal access. Then after that, he basically said that to prevent this particular data, data which is being moved to a USB drive, you have to establish a strong access control with the help of principle of least privilege. So there are two methods. One is the data loss using the data loss prevention tool, and second is you can basically use PAM, which is Privileged Access Manager. So this was
Understood.
really a very beautiful answer. Thank you, Sanchit. Thank you so much. I hope everyone is able to follow. Guys, can you confirm if you are able to follow Sanchit properly from the start till the end? Good, great. So all these information is going to be very helpful. So please don't think that I don't belong to cybersecurity, so I don't need to know this. This is one of the very important question and important answer. Now, Third question, what are the common types of cybersecurity attacks? Can you explain two of them in detail? I think this is one of the important question. Over to you, Sanchit.
So common type of cybersecurity attacks. So to be honest, everybody has faced this, right? We as individuals, everything is on the internet, so we do get phishing emails, right? Everybody is getting phishing emails. Social engineering attacks. So many people, their social media accounts get hacked, and then somebody else is operating the account on their behalf, and then they'll start sending messages to the friends within that account, and they'll ask for money. Or you would see another kind of attack like this, that they'll say, hey, I saw a picture of you on this link, just click on this link and you'll see, right? So this is a social engineering attack. This is a very common cybersecurity attack that is happening nowadays, right? So you have to be aware of such things. Usually people who send you links, they will send you non-HTTPS links. So as cybersecurity students or people who are aware of what's happening in the cybersecurity industry, you should be very well aware that you should not be clicking on non-HTTPS links. Why? Because they are not secure, right? So when somebody says that I've seen a picture of you and they share a link with you, you click on that link without checking if it is HTTPS or non-HTTPS. It would look exactly like a Facebook login. A non-HTTPS link would also look exactly like the Facebook login. And when you log in, because it is non-HTTPS, your username and password would be visible to the person on the other side. So they will be able to hack your account. Then what they would do, actually, they're not making money out of it. So they'll start pinging your friends and start asking for money, and your friends might think it is you, right? Or they will misuse the photos that are there on your account. So to be aware of such social engineering attacks, you should never click on non-HTTPS links. Other thing is a malware. What is malware? Malicious software is a malware, right? Software designed to disrupt, damage, or gain unauthorized access on your system. This might include viruses, ransomware, spyware, and even worms, right? So if at all you end up installing a malware on your system, like a ransomware, which is a bot network, then anybody else can control your system from outside, right? So you should be very careful and only download softwares which are authentic, which are genuine, which you pay and then you get. If you install any such softwares which are readily available on the internet, there is a very high chance of downloading and executing a malware on your computer, which will make you prone to cybersecurity attacks.
Got it. Got it. So I hope everyone was listening properly. So there are two common types of attacks: phishing emails and social engineering attacks. So like awareness is certainly important, and use of HTTPS link is very crucial. And malwares, which is like malicious software, is designed to disrupt your systems or machine. It can be virus, ransomware, so that anyone can remotely control your laptop. And it's one of the very common cybersecurity attacks. I hope everyone is actually taking down notes. So, Sanchit, would you mind to talk about like phishing a little bit? Like, what is this phishing all about?
Yes. So phishing is when you get an email from somebody you have no idea about. For example, you receive an email saying that I am the king of Africa and I have $100 billion and I have no heir to the throne and I want somebody to share this money with.
Mm-hmm.
And in order to share this money with you, I need this small amount, right? So that is an example of a phishing email,
Wonderful.
right?
That's
Another example is very, very relevant to all of you. You all are desperate for jobs, right? You all are looking for a six-figure job. That's how we started this presentation. So this happens a lot in India, that you apply for a lot of jobs on a job portal, and the algorithm has understood that this guy is really desperate, and he's applying, say, 50 jobs in a day or 100 jobs in a day on different job portals. So somehow they get this information, the scammers, and they'll call you. They'll call you and they have read your resume properly, and they'll be like, oh, you are working as a cybersecurity consultant at the moment at a XYZ company. So we do have a job for you of a cybersecurity consultant in some other company, and would you be interested? You'll say, of course, I am very much interested. I'm on my toes to get into a new
Mhm.
job. So then they will tell you that, okay, but in order to apply for the job, you have to pay X number of dollars, and then only you will be able to apply. It is a fake job. Everything is fake. None of the interviewers or consultants are going to ask you for money to apply for a job. It's an absolute no-no. Nobody asks you for money for a job. They see your qualification, they match it with the job description, and then they call you for an interview. That's how things work. So
Yeah,
please don't
you're
fall
right.
prey to any of these things. So this is a very good example of phishing, and it is relevant to people who are looking for jobs.
Wonderful. Thank you. Thank you, Sanchit. Sanchit, moving on to the question number four. Suppose you have to test a system's internal performance. What type of testing would you perform, and what major types of testings are there?
So see, this is not a cybersecurity question.
Okay.
Okay, I can answer it, but it has got nothing to do with cybersecurity.
Okay.
For
Okay. No worries.
any for any internal performance evaluation, there is performance testing, which encompass load testing, that is system behavior under expected load. So for
Okay.
example, if you have a server which has 4 cores of CPU, right,
Mm-hmm.
and you pressurize it to use all the 4 cores at the same time,
Yep.
right? So that is performance testing. So you are doing stress testing on it, and you see the system's behavior in these extreme conditions, right? Is it taking more time? Is it heating up? All of that would you would be able to see. There is also something called benchmark testing, that is comparison against standards, right? What another make or any other system which is at par when it comes to the hardware or the performance, but it is from a different company. So how does it perform? So when you buy phones, you see these benchmarks on the phones also, like what is the performance of the processor that is inside the phone, right? In the same way, every computer has a processor and it has its benchmark capabilities. So you compare it with the standards. Then major testing categories include unit testing, that is smallest components. All the components within your system should be tested. Then integration testing. When you integrate it with other systems, how does it perform? Right? How difficult or not difficult it is to integrate any other system with your system. So now when we are saying system, it could be hardware, it could be software, it could be anything, right? Then there is security testing. Within security testing, we have vulnerability assessment. So vulnerability means anything that could go wrong, if there are any loopholes in this system, right? Whatever you're testing, then you have usability testing or user experience testing. That's when you check all the buttons on the UI, the user interface. You see that all of these buttons are functional, none of them are giving an error, they all do what they are desired to do.
Got it. So it means that there are like various types of testing which are available. This question is not is actually from
Yes, so whatever I
cybersecurity.
answered
Yeah.
was not was not at all about cybersecurity, right? It was
Yeah.
about performance. It was about hardware, right?
Hardware. Okay. Okay. Yeah. I mean, because one of the student has received this question even in the cybersecurity interview, and that's what we were quite like we wanted to include this question. So if our
Mhm.
students are facing this question, they can be a little more prepared. As you mentioned,
Yes,
security testing, like vulnerability testing, I think with that they can answer to support their security knowledge and testing as well. Yeah,
yes.
got it. So the question number four is basically if you are managing a system and someone performs an SQL injection attack, how would you prevent it?
Right. So first of all, we need to understand what is a SQL injection attack, right?
Okay.
So SQL injection attack is when somebody tries to use SQL commands to somehow not put the password in order to get into an account. So you are playing with the SQL commands because you are a master in SQL. You're playing with the SQL commands to somehow omit the step where you have to provide the username and password, right? So you have to have mastery in SQL command in order to perform a SQL injection attack, right? So now, how can you prevent this? You can prevent when you prepare statements and parameters queries. So your user inputs are treated as data, not executable code. When you are, so most of the times, these hackers who try to inject any SQL statement so what they do is when you look at a URL, when you actually put in, so for example, if you'll open facebook.com, you'll put in your username and password in the box and press enter. You will see the entire URL is going to change. The entire URL will become, a small part of that URL will become a query, an SQL query. So what these people are doing, they are monitoring this URL. They are looking at what exactly the application is doing. The application actually goes and queries the database for that specific user and checks its password. And when you are doing an SQL injection, you are asking the database to not go and check, but just omit this step and move ahead, right? So this you can only do when you are already aware of the parameters that are part of this query.
URL. Yeah.
Sorry?
Yeah, so it means that they basically check the URL, and if the parameters are present in the URL, they try to change
Exactly.
those parameters. Okay.
Yes. So how can you prevent this? Now implement strict input validation and whitelist inputs to only allow acceptable characters. So basically the person who is doing this is playing. So what he will use is not standard parameters or standard queries. So if you make it standard that only this query can be executed on my database when somebody is trying to log in, there can be no manipulation commands that could be used, then automatically this thing is solved, right? Nobody can do an SQL injection, right? Again,
Okay.
you can apply the principle of least privilege for your database, right? So when somebody is querying from outside, they should not have any kind of access that will manipulate or change any table in the database. They can only query at the most. So that will also help. Avoid displaying detailed error messages to end users to prevent information leakage. Yes. And you can also encrypt the query in the URL at the application level. So in that case, the person would never see how the database is being queried by the application by its own, because that is the pattern that these hackers are going to analyze, right? They don't know anything. but they are looking at the URL which is changing the moment you put the username and password. And the way it changes, they'll try to rely on that to figure out a query which might omit the username and password bit.
Okay. So Sanchit, so what you are, I mean, I just want to, conclude for the students who are actually new to cybersecurity. So basically, SQL injection attack is one of the popular attack. So what hackers they do, instead of typing the username and the password, they're able to create a query with the help of a language called SQL, and they are
Yes.
able to pull the data out of it without even entering the password. So that is possible. Let me be very clear, first of all, to all the new students here, that even without entering username and the password, information can be pulled out of the database. That's number one. But how do you basically prevent this kind of a situation? You do this whitelist input parameters, or you make it standard so that the hacker, they don't try hit and trial, and they are able to get it, because you are whitelisting the input parameters and making it standard. And the other way to prevent is apply least privilege principle or encrypt the query. So by applying the least privilege, when there is no privilege to any user to do anything, they will not be able to query the database. Okay. So you are basically trying to find out the ways that this particular activity can be stopped. It is very common and very popular technique of pulling out the information from the database. So I just concluded for those people who are new to cybersecurity. Sure. Was I right, Sanchit?
Yes, yes.
Or at least was I close to your answer?
Yeah, no, no, yes, you were right.
Okay.
Thank you for watching. Switch from non-IT to IT today. Explore www.thinkcloudly.com.